All right, everyone. So, we're going to get into. Um, I really want to talk about some things because me as a psychic medium, I go through a lot of things daily, you know, which is why it's so important for me to set boundaries, for me to have a lot of alone time, for me to just not really give a fuck because a lot of human beings are not, the human mind cannot comprehend a lot of things of the spirit. We weren't programmed to be that way. We have to grow into that. And when it comes to growth, sometimes you have to come outside of your box. And a lot of people don't want to come outside of their box. So they'll never know. They'll never understand. But when they see things, you know, it's not going to be of interest to them, and it doesn't matter because, who the fuck wants to deal with people or things that are not for them, you know? So, you know, um, when moving through the physical and the non-physical, so we're just gonna say the astral realm in between, bouncing back and forth, like piercing the veil. Well, me as a psychic medium, there is no veil. To me, it's kind of like I can see the real world. So if you ever see that movie Free Guy, so Free Guy, he's an MP, right? I think that's what they call him. But he's an MP. And he begins to notice how there are people in his world to where they're wearing glasses. And these people who wear glasses, it seems like they walk around the world freely, doing whatever they want to do. So one day he decides that he's going to put on the glasses. And when he puts on the glasses, he sees things that are actually going on that the other MPs don't see. So, I found that movie very interesting because that's kind of like what it's like being a psychic medium. You know, you see shit that most people don't see. So, where most people are flowing, living, moving based off of a program, and that program has a lot to do with their, we could say perception, but it's more so of the matrix of their mind. Okay, so there's this thing called neuroplasticity, and it's in psychology. So where when it comes to neuroplasticity is how we are responding and how we are behaving and how our experiences, shape and mold us in a sense. Okay. So, when it comes to your experiences, if you are someone who has not had a lot of experiences, then you're going to notice the difference between somebody who has a lot of experience. So if you haven't traveled outside of maybe the state that you live in, but you meet somebody who has traveled all over the world, their perspective is going to be a lot bigger because they have had more experiences. Now, I feel like when it comes to age, I don't really feel like age. I think age does matter when it comes to experiences, but at the same time, wisdom is what you pull from your experiences. What have you learned from those experiences? And that is the wisdom in which that you obtain So it's kind of like you could have a grown ass person that are and they're having constant experiences, but they're not learning from those experiences. They're not obtaining or extracting a deeper insight from their experiences. But then you'll have a young person who has a lot of experiences, and it's kind of like they're learning from their experiences, which means that that young person is going to possess more wisdom than the individual who's older but not getting it. Okay, so you know, I I recently, I recently stopped smoking. And in me stop smoking, a lot of things are very clear to me. Like I stopped smoking tobacco and I stopped smoking weed, you know. And a lot of things have just become clear to me as a psychic medium, you know. Like I've always known that my body is a portal, but I did not know that my body is a portal to awaken the dead. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you, I know that sounds weird, but I'm gonna tell you what I mean. So, you know, there are times, and I just recently just came to this enlightenment, but there were times to where, in my household, I just felt suffocated. And I thought that I felt suffocated from the people around me. And I would tell them, I'm just like, I feel suffocated. Like, I need some space. I feel like you're hovering over me, you know? And sometimes it is them because, everybody loves my attention. So sometimes in my household, individuals are fighting for my attention or they want my attention. So I just feel suffocated, you know? And I have been going through this pattern for a while, and I would just, to where I would feel suffocated. I would wake up mornings feeling like I'm waking up out of a coffin. It feels like I'm waking up from death, and I'm just like, okay, as a psychic medium, I understand, but I don't really fully understand. But the thing is that the smoke was clouding a lot of my discernment and my ability to be able to receive the enlightenment. So that's just me. I don't know if that's for anybody else, but I'm going to tell you that's me. And I'm trying to tell you, I love to smoke. So for a long time, I was in denial. I knew that I needed to stop smoking, but I was just like, we could figure out something. We could figure out a way around this. Smoking has been helpful in many other ways with dealing with my spiritual gifts and talents. But at the same time, it's kind of like I have to nurture my big gift. You understand what I'm saying? So when it comes to my big gift, it's kind of like I just need to focus. I need to start nurturing and focusing on, my psychic medium abilities. The thing is, it's kind of hard to be able to tell who's really a psychic medium and who's not, because, everybody does not communicate or establish a relationship with the crossovers, the deities, and the angels the same. So in a way, you'll never really know who is who. You understand what I'm saying? But me, myself, personally, I can see people's spiritual gifts. I can see their talents. Okay? So, I usually know who is who and what is what. And sometimes I'll meet people and it's like I'll go in blindly. And I think that that's kind of like God blinding me, because he's using me for somebody else or something else. So I'm not going to really understand that situation because I'm just being used. God is just using me. It's purposeful, but it's not purposeful for me and my purpose. But anyway, so getting back to, like feeling suffocated and waking up, I would ignore a lot of these symptoms. And so when I stopped smoking, it's kind of like I just kind of had this this shock. But the shock is what you call an awakening. And then I just began to experience a lot of things. So I realized the times to where I felt suffocated, it was actually a soul that has been asleep. Okay? It gets complicated sometimes trying to explain. So when an individual, it depends. Okay, so I'm going to tell you, I'm connected to a lot of old souls, a lot of ancient souls. These souls, they wake up and they go to sleep, and they wake up and they go to sleep. So there have been certain things that have been taking place that cause for them to awaken. And the thing is that in order for them to be able to awaken, they need a vessel. They need a vessel to awaken through. So the times to where I felt suffocated, I'm just like, it feels like I'm covered in dirt and I can't breathe, So that tells me that I need to go out and be amongst nature more. Okay. So I will go out and I will do that. Then it's kind of like I'm real hungry and I'm real thirsty. And I just be like, well, my period about to come on, or I'm about to come on my period, or my period is already here. This is why I'm hungry. So what I've noticed is a lot more things kind of kick up around my period. A woman's cycle is connected to the moon. My sun sign is Cancer. Cancer rules the moon. Okay, so I'm just like, okay. So I just start putting stuff together. Now, when they wake up, they have to eat. So this is how they gain their strength. This is how they come into their strength. So have you ever seen that movie? It's called Bones. It's with Snoop Dogg and a couple of other well-known actors and actresses. I believe I forgot that woman's name. I forgot her name, but she was a singer. Foxy Brown. She played in the movie Foxy Brown or something like that. Something. Lord, forgot her name. But anyway, if you've seen that movie, you saw how Snoop Dogg came back to life through the dog. So the more that the dog ate, the more his body began to come into form. Okay, so I began to notice some stuff with my dog too. I'm just like, damn, why is it, it seemed like me and his dog, we both hungry all day, because it's kind of like when I go into the kitchen, he go into the kitchen. It just kind of seemed like with animals, period, if they could, they would eat all fucking day. So I'm just like, and souls are reincarnated into animals too. Death is not what most people think. Did you know that people are dying every day? And it's kind of like these bodies are like constant revolving doors. This is for people who are unaware. You know, every time our dreams die, every time we let our dreams go, the soul dies and it flies away. And something else comes in and entertains our vessel, and we don't even know it. So, this is why, me as a psychic medium, a spiritualist, and a psychologist, I work with the subconscious mind. You know, because I have a lot of insight as to how, you know, things are moving in the hidden, in the unseen. And to where some people think that they're going crazy or they're having psychotic breaks and all this type of stuff. You know, it's really not that. When you let go of your dreams, when you let go of your ambitions, and my thing is that you can always create new dreams. That's why, you know, you ever notice how people be like, man, you know, that person used to be this, that person used to be that. When we're in pursuit of pursuing our dreams, we are full of life. But then it's kind of like when we give up on our dreams, it's like a part of us dies off. The spirit dies off, the soul dies off, and something else comes in to entertain those spaces. Those spaces are not full of life. Those spaces, you know, it's like, I mean, not those spaces, but those people who come in to host your spirit and your soul, the replacement, it's kind of like death comes in. You know, it's kind of like subconsciously, you know, you told yourself, I no longer want this contract with this dream. I no longer want this dream. So you give it out, you give it away, right? So it gets put into the universe and somebody else grabs it. Somebody else's soul grabs it. Okay? And this is another case of how ideas are infinite and floating. You see, the hidden is the infinite space. So when you have infinite favor, you're pulling from this source. When you're tapped into anything infinite, infinite compassion, this is the place that you're pulling from. Infinite wisdom, this is the place that you're pulling from. You're able to navigate in the hidden, the unseen, in the astral realm. So like I said, with me as a psychic medium, it's like the glasses, you know, like I can see, you know, so it's just like I can see what it is in which that I need. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes I'm not supposed to see, but I have guidance. I have individuals helping me who are floating around in the astral plane, and I also have the assistance of God. So anyway, getting back to the movie, so the dog would eat and his body would come into form. So when I am being used as a vessel, when I eat, when I drink, you know, I'm helping the deities, I'm helping a soul awaken, and I'm helping that soul to rebirth. Now my thing is that I have to discern who and what I will help bring back to life. Because what is the point of doing all that work if the individual is just going to choose to just go back to sleep anyway? You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes, I believe for a long time, you know, while I was learning all of these things about psychic medium and understanding this world, you know, I was being guided. I was being guided as to who to choose, and this was practice for me. So now that I'm a little more independent, you know, I have to discern for myself. Discernment is also a spiritual gift and talent as well, because you have to be able to see. But I work very closely with God too. So there are times to where, you know, God, it's like God will, he'll blind my discernment. And, I'm working next to him. So whatever God has going on, it's really none of my business. It's just I'm just here to create. We consider God to be the creator. We are all creators. A lot of people tell me, I don't have no gifts. I don't have no talents. You have all these gifts. You have all these talents. Because the thing is that you have spiritual gifts and you have spiritual talents. As many physical gifts as I have in my abilities is what I have in the spiritual realm too. Why is that? Because I am a teacher. I can see other people's gifts, and I have a lot of gifts that most people have too. And I have had the knowledge, the time, the experience to learn, to sharpen and master those gifts. So therefore, I can help teach other individuals how to master their gifts. I can help them to see their gifts. Now, the thing is that I have to be careful about who I am going to help. Because, I can end up helping the wrong person who's power hungry. And instead of appreciating their gift and allowing their gift to work for them and make their life better, they will turn around and try to make other people's lives hell with their gift. You don't appreciate the gift. You don't appreciate the time and the effort that you put in to learn and to master that gift. And you got to be careful, because your gifts can't be taken from you when you start playing in spell work. There comes a point in time to where you'll notice you have gotten away with being a certain way for a long time, very manipulative, very manipulative. You may have been a very good liar. You may have been able to confuse people or pull the wool over other people's eyes. And then it gets to a point to where it's just like, this is not working anymore, because it's time to evolve. Meaning that you have to get ready, because you are about to start paying out your karmic debt. You see, that's why you be getting away with shit for so long. Because it's a part of you, exercising your gift. Right? But at the same time, there has not been any balance. You have not been under the proper guidance or mentorship. You've been out here using your gifts recklessly. So, you got to pay that back. And the universe is going to get that out of you one way or another. And this is what you call karma. You know what I'm starting to learn? Karma is so diverse and versatile. It's like a variety of different levels of karma, different types of karma. It's pretty interesting. So, I find myself, because I stopped smoking, I expected myself to eat more, but at the same time, I've always been very disciplined in eating. And there are times to where when I choose to resist my craving, I can do it. So I'm just like, well, what's going on here? Why in some cases do I feel overpowered? And it is kind of like sometimes when I'm resisting, the stress is just so high. Because it's kind of like, girl, you're not eating for you, you're eating for two. And we could talk about spiritual pregnancies too. Okay, so a spiritual pregnancy is a project. So when you're working on a project, because the thing is that this project is going to bring you a very big blessing. Okay? It's going to be a seed. And you're going to be able to plant that seed. And you're going to have the opportunity to nurture that seed. And that seed is going to take you through a cycle of, once it manifests, it's going to take you through a cycle of, it's going to take you through a financial cycle. Okay, so I used to study under a priest. He was a Pan-African priest, and he would teach the cycles of seed planting for business. So, he was there to help entrepreneurs. Okay, and so, he was given a different perspective, about that, understanding what's behind what you're truly doing. You understand what I'm saying? When trying to create a business for yourself outside of the matrix. Okay. So, I have some knowledge in that. And then, of course, I have experience. It's a process. It's a process. This is, it's kind of like, that's why you have to be patient with your process. You can't just build some shit up too fast. You can't do it like that. You know what I mean? Nowadays, with all of these resources, there are so many shortcuts that people can take. And I mean, those shortcuts work. And my thing is that when it comes to the shortcuts, you can't be taking shortcuts the whole way. You have to learn how to balance out the shit. You take a shortcut, you get ahead. Then it's kind of like, when you get ahead, just take some time out to just chill and relax. Most people, the mentality of most people, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep hustling, burn it out, burn it out. You understand what I'm saying? When you're actually trying to create something long term, and then on top of that, something legendary, when you're trying to build an empire, it takes time. What they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. So, what else did I want to talk about? But I mean, that's pretty much it, because I just been eating. But I got to take care of my body. And that's another thing, because you got to take care of your body, because you're going to eat. I feel like, a lot of the times as spiritualists, it's so important to work on your mental health as a spiritualist. It's so important to take care of yourself, period. And my thing is that even if you're not in touch with all of this, or you don't understand all of this information, as a human being, you are still a vessel. Anytime that something dies off in you, something comes in and replaces it. Just because there's a death doesn't always mean that there is a rebirth. You have to move, you have to flow, move into the rebirth. But a lot of people resist. So they're holding on to the death. They may let a dream go, and then death moves in. So the cure would be create a new dream. right? You create a new dream, you begin to rebirth the death inside of you, so that now the death leaves and this new dream comes in and it brings you back to life. So when it comes to projects, this is why I say it's very important that individuals have some type of project going on within their life, working on something. It doesn't, but the thing, most people, they don't want to do shit. They don't want to use their time unless they're getting paid. It's a waste of time if they're not getting paid for something. They don't want to put effort or do anything because they're not getting paid for it. You need to be nurturing the spirit. You need to be nurturing your soul every day. You can choose a project and work on it little by little every day. There needs to be something that you are creating for yourself in your life to stay alive. And it's okay to let go of something and let something die off, because change is the inevitable. And a lot of the times as human beings, we are resisting change. So if we can learn how to let go more and understand the benefits of the rebirth, how to nurture the rebirth and allow it to happen, I think that there will be more happier people. I think more people would be happier. I think we would have more mental health. And the thing is that people are not always going to take initiative. So how can we help them out? It's kind of like, well, maybe on the job every month, they should have some type of therapy for their employees. You understand what I'm saying? They should have some type of therapy. They should have some type of, in the nursing field and in the teaching field, you have Teacher Appreciation Week. You have Nurse Appreciation Week. So that would be, well, no, I think you should be a little more consistent than just 1 week out of the year. I think every month, employers should do some type of therapeutic event, like for their employees. I think that people should take initiative in doing stuff themselves too. I think that, more therapeutic activities should be incorporated, everywhere. I think it should be incorporated everywhere. Well, not everywhere. You can't say everywhere. But I'm talking about everywhere. Like maybe like, how you have Dave and Buster's? Like maybe Dave and Buster's should have like a paint room or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they should have something, every month and people can sign up. Like, I don't know. Something like that. Something fun though. When it comes to Barnes and Nobles too, they should have something every month to where, and see, it doesn't always have to be art. They could be doing classes on how to make their own books. I made my own book. It's in my sacred space. I don't have it right now. But that was fun. It was fun going through the process, creating the story, writing the story, editing the story, printing out the story, and then putting it together as a book. Yeah, I have a lot of ideas. I just don't have people that I can trust. I deal with a lot of jealous people. I tried to put a paint and sip together, one time, and it's crazy because everybody made it seem like they was on board. But when the shit didn't happen, everybody was telling me, oh, I didn't want to do that shit anyway. And I knew what I was doing, not doing this and not doing that. And I'm just sitting up there. I'm like, I'm right here. I'm right here. So my thing is, people were showing those attitudes. People were showing that. But it wasn't until when the shit didn't happen, people started actually saying it. And it's just like, I can't make it with other people. I can't make it happen with other people. And I mean, for some people, that's what it is. Like, I know what I have to offer can change the world if it were big enough. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I don't think it's meant to be. I don't think it's meant to be that way. You understand what I'm saying? So, and I mean, I'm okay with that because I do a lot of work, a lot of spiritual work. Like they need me. They're not gonna let me go. They're not gonna let me go. You know, I can work with. I have so much to work with. I can heal. I can heal the dead in so many ways. I can heal the dead in living souls, in living bodies, and I can heal the dead in non-bodies, non-physical bodies. So, I mean, I'm very important to the astral realm. I'm not supposed to be important to the world. The world wouldn't appreciate me anyway. I've already seen that. God has showed me that. That's why God is just like, no, I'm not sacrificing you. You are where you're supposed to be, what you have going on, what you're doing. Your gifts, your talents are going to be used differently. I have a special place for you. So I said, okay. There are a lot of people who look at me and they want to help me. And I get it. I appreciate the help. But then people get upset when I decline because they don't understand. And then people say, oh, well, you're ungrateful. Like you're gonna live a mediocre life. You're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. I'm gonna live a very happy life. I'm living a very healed life. Life is not perfect. I do wish sometimes that I could really be with somebody I was in love with, but I mean, that's not a big deal to me. I'm healthy. My son is healthy. I'm being taken care of. Life is easy. Life is good. I'm able to focus. My spirit guides got my back. I don't have nobody. If I don't have nobody, I got my spirit guides. And my spirit guides be working for me. Because I done had so many people come up against me. And so many people close to me turn on me. And I've seen the power of my spirit guides. So I'm just, they love me. They love me and I love them. That's true love. So people can look at me. They can say what they want. They just don't know. But they look at me and they wonder, how are you content? How are you happy? Why do we have all of this? We're crummy people and we hate our lives. We hate our relationships. We don't want our children. You know? Oh, you know, it is what it is. I do hide a lot of my happiness. I do. Because people are not happy. When they're not happy, they want to steal yours. So, you can't have mine. Shit, I work hard for it. It's like that's why you don't have it, because you don't work hard for it. You don't appreciate. You are entitled and you have a whole bunch of expectations. Oh. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what it must be like for God? From the time that God was created, that he came into form, to him creating the world and how the world started off to now. Can you imagine all of the shit that he's seen? All the shit that he knows? He's a fucking genius. There's so much mystery within the spirit, and that is very purposeful. And that actually helps bring balance when it comes to knowledge and experiences. It's all very purposeful. Well, I'm done. I'm done with my ranting and my raving. So we about to go. So I'll talk to y'all again.